Welcome to the cardiovascular system video lecture, otherwise known as the circulatory system. Now, the cardiovascular system is responsible for transporting blood to the body's tissues. The blood is pumped by the muscular contractions of the heart and travels around the body by the means of a complicated network of blood vessels. Blood is the body's transport medium, enabling substances to be carried around the body, and it consists of plasma. Now, over half of the blood is composed of plasma. Plasma is a straw-coloured fluid consisting of around 91% water and 7% proteins. Plasma is responsible for transporting nutrients, salts, hormones, enzymes, gases, and excretory products. Blood is also made up of red blood cells, and these are known as erythrocytes. Now, your red blood cells appear as biconcave discs and are produced in the red bone marrow. Their primary function is to transport the gases of respiration. This is possible as they contain hemoglobin. Now, hemoglobin contains a protein, which is known as globin, and a pigment containing iron. Old and worn-out erythrocytes are destroyed in the liver and spleen. Also contains white blood cells, which are termed as leukocytes. Now, your white blood cells are produced in the bone marrow, and there are a number of forms, including your lymphocytes. And you'll go into more detail of this when you study the lymph system. These play an important role in immunity. Now, your platelets are also called thrombocytes. Platelets are fragments of cytoplasm, which is the substance that surrounds the cell's organelles, and enclosed by a membrane. When they come into contact with damaged tissue, they release chemicals that start a chain of reactions to form a blood clot. The blood has a number of functions. It delivers oxygen and nutrients to the cells. It removes carbon dioxide and toxic waste from the cells, transports enzymes and hormones, it transports heat, it maintains the body's pH level, it protects against disease, and it protects against blood loss by producing clots when necessary. So now let's look at the main organ of the cardiovascular system, which is the heart. So the blood is only able to perform its many functions when it's pumped around the body, and the heart performs this important role. The heart is suspended by ligaments and is located between the lungs, slightly to the left of the midline in the upper thorax. It receives its own blood supply from the coronary arteries. The middle layer of the heart is called the myocardium, or heart muscle. The specialised muscle fibres of the myocardium allows the heart to beat in response to nerve impulses. As the nerve impulses travel through the heart, electrical impulses are generated which result in the rhythmical contraction and relaxation. The heart pumps deoxygenated blood, which is blood without oxygen, to the lungs via the pulmonary arteries. It receives oxygenated blood back from the lungs through the pulmonary veins. This oxygenated blood is then pumped out of the heart from the aorta and circulated around the body. Now, the deoxygenated blood is received back from the body's tissues via the superior and the inferior vena cava. Internally, the heart is actually comprised of 4 chambers. The upper chambers are called atriums and the lower chambers are called your ventricles. The septum divides the left and the right sides of the heart, keeping the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood separate. Now, your heart will receive deoxygenated blood from the body tissues via the superior and inferior vena cava. This deoxygenated blood enters the right atrium and passes through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. The deoxygenated blood leaves the right ventricle and is transported to the lungs in the pulmonary arteries. Oxygenated blood is brought back from the lungs in the pulmonary vein. The oxygenated blood from the pulmonary vein is received in the left atrium. This blood passes through the mitral valve into the left ventricle. The left ventricle is the largest, most muscular chamber as it's responsible for pumping the oxygenated blood around the whole of the body. The oxygenated blood leaves the heart via the aorta. Blood is transported around the whole body by means of the extensive network of blood vessels, and there are 3 main types. We have your arteries, veins and capillaries. Now, arteries take blood away from the heart. They have a thick middle layer consisting of smooth muscle. This allows them to withstand the pressure resulting from the pumping of the heart. Your arteries contain oxygenated blood. The exception to this is the pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery takes deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs. Now, your veins take blood back to the heart. Your venous blood is under less pressure than the arterial blood. To prevent the backflow of blood, most veins contain valves. Veins contain deoxygenated blood. The exception is the pulmonary vein. The pulmonary vein takes oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. You also have your capillaries. Now these are tiny thin-walled vessels which make up dense networks. The arteries divide many times until they become capillaries. The capillaries allow nutrients, your gases and excretory products to be exchanged between the blood and the tissue fluid. Your capillaries merge many times until they become veins. In your work section you'll have a table of the differences between your arteries, veins and capillaries.